Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond BMR. I am your host, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And as always, I'm joined by my brother from Texas. Y'all know him by Tex. We have a great show in store for you today. We have from Virginia, Daniel Benoit, wildlife researcher, Bigfoot researcher. We'll be bringing him up momentarily. As a lot of you know, Beyond BMR goes beyond all these rabbit holes. We take a deep dive into Bigfoot and Dogman. Talk about aliens, UFOs, the paranormal. We talk about how all these things come full circle. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Texas Front Porch on YouTube. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. If you like our content, if you like to support us, the super chat is open. Yes, the super chat's open. Long after the show ends, the super thanks is also open. Please like us, share us, leave a comment, turn on the alert bell. You can also refer to our about pages in our YouTube channels. Speaking about our platform, Texas Front Porch, you can find us just about every day of the week except Sunday. Mondays is Texas Front Porch, 7:30 in the East. Now, starting the first Monday in May, 9 o'clock in the East is going to be a time change. Texas Front Porch will be on Mondays, 9 in the East, the first Monday in May. So make sure that you adjust your calendars. But if you have your alert bell on, it won't matter. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East on Tuesday. Also on Tuesdays at 10 in the East, Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library on Untold Radio AM. Go, please check out Jason. On Wednesdays, we're right back with Jason McLean and Donnie Cho, myself. Jason McLean questions everything at 9 in the East. Thursdays, brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. That comes on at 1 o'clock in the East. Later on that night, 9 in the East, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Please subscribe to the girls over there, Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, 9 o'clock in the East. You need some more woo with the booze? Well, we provide that for you as well on Friday nights at 9 in the East, right? Once back with the booze, 9 o'clock again in the East. Saturdays, 3 o'clock in the East, Tex and Danielle Diva. They got a new show. In fact, they've had 3 or 4 releases already. Infamous Minds is a true crime series. Talks about serial killers. I highly suggest all you true crime fans to go check it out. Saturdays, well, Spaced Out Radio's Jessica Jones. You can find her Saturday and Sunday at 10 in the East. Then our very own Danielle Diva follows up on Spaced Out Radio after Jessica at 11 o'clock in the East. Show her some love. Go check her out. And again, broadcasting, streaming, Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot Michigan, all across our illustrious platform. Thanks for everybody for joining us. With that being said, I am going to bring up Tex. Make sure he's all ready to rock and roll. And
I'm here.
There he is. Hello, Tex.
Well, I'm here with bells on. Ring-a-ding-ding.
Yes, Tex, you always have the bells on. I enjoy your enthusiasm here this evening.
So, I'm tired, man. God,
I tell you, I know you are. I appreciate it. And you had a big week with it must have been birthday week with the missus.
I think it was birthday month, dude. Oh man.
I
took her out for her birthday this last weekend, and we kind of kicked our heels up a little bit. So it's I got my sleep schedule all screwed up.
I tell you, you do know that, Tex, when you hit the 50s, the 50 year, we can't do it like we did when we were in our 30s or 20s.
Boy, you ain't kidding, man. It's weird because my body says I'm 90, but my spirit says I'm 20. So it gets it gets a little on the rough side every once in a while.
I tell you what, man, this could be just a whole different show if you talk about, because I don't feel any different than when I was 20. Now, the body is saying a different thing, but like you said, the mind and the spirit, yep. I don't know the difference between 18, 20, 30. My thoughts are still the same. I mean, maybe a little more mature, I guess, as the years have rolled on, but
my fuse has gotten longer as I've went through the years. I'll put it that way.
You have to learn to have that longer fuse when you get older. I do realize that, because when you're younger, you're more brash, ready to roll. Little short fuse with certain people or situations. Yeah, I get that. That is kind of an adjustment period. I'm always like, no, I'm right, when I was younger, but now it's like, okay, I'll listen to what you have to say.
Joe Stewart,
I'll bend my ear.
Joe Stewart asked, "How old is Tex?" Tex is old enough to fart dust. That's how old Tex is.
Well, I think anybody can do that, though. It's a practice. It's an acquired practice. We got a great show.
We do.
Danielle Benoit, he lives in Virginia.
I want to say that's Daniel, not Danielle, but
I said Daniel. I didn't say Danielle.
Didn't either.
I said Daniel. Well, it's a man, and I'm going to. In fact, I'll tell you what. He's got a better beard than you. Now that you got me all right, flustered here. With that being said, enough of the goofiness. We're going to bring up Virginia's own Daniel Benoit.
How you guys doing?
How you doing?
Rob better watch his butt, because what he don't understand is, it's not a beard competition on the show. It's bearded brethren, and
yeah, there you go.
Hey, you ain't in that club there, brother.
Yeah, man. You know what? If I tell you what,
you look like you got carried away drinking milk, so I don't want to hear nothing.
I have this short crop goatee. Maybe one day I'll attempt to grow out such an illustrious beard as you two fine gentlemen. What happened? I tell you what,
Daniel could grow that.
Yes, Daniel. Hey, if I said Danielle, I'm sorry, Mr. Benoit. I know it's Daniel. Daniel. You've got it. I know a Danielle and a Daniela, and now a Daniel. So every once in a while, I guess there's a slight slip of the tongue.
Oh yeah. I went to school with a Danielle a long time ago, back in elementary school, many years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, well, there's so many names. Especially I heard you talking earlier with Tex about a lot of these podcasters. There'll be 3 or 4 then you don't see them for 6 months. We've done probably, Tex, I'm going to be conservative, like 200 shows.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I mean, this show here is newer, about 20 shows into it, and Texas Front Porch has got, I know, well over 250, and I think the brunch show's got like $120. We're coming up on $125. So. Yeah, we've been doing this a little while. And of course, Jason McLean has been with us. Well, I just joined a couple of years back, but Jason, right alongside Tex, has done quite a few. And then Bob's got his new show, Beer and Variety, on YouTube as well. So then we got the Blondes, the Booze. Again, I could talk for hours about all our shows we got, but this is about you today. And I'm not going to give your bio. I'm not going to give your bio. I said you're a wildlife guy. You're a Bigfoot researcher. And if you would like to walk everybody through who you are and how you got to this point and how you made it onto this show today.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I want to. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, well, a little bit about me. I know there's people that's been involved with the Bigfoot research probably way longer than I have. I'm in the 13th year of my research and in my involvement with Bigfoot. Um, me, I grew up in the woods, basically playing in the woods, or as a young child, I always tagged along with dad out in the woods. And I became very well acquainted with wildlife and nature at a young age. But I tell you what, it wasn't until seeing the famous 1967 Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin footage that really like alerted me, sparked it. It just put a spark in me, and it fascinated me. I mean, and I know a lot of people probably. Well, I mean, I believe that's unless they've had their own experience at some point in time. But are you guys here? I think are we froze?
You were well. You're a little.
Oh,
We can
I
hear
don't know if
you.
we're frozen or not. Um, okay. All right. Yeah, because I let me move my device a little closer to my. All right. So yeah, I mean, it was the Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin footage, and just seeing that footage alone really opened up my eyes. Um, Basically, it had me going out in nature. I mean, I've always been out in the woods. I'm in the woods today. I mean, like present time, and it's basically had me really paying attention. It had me really looking. It had me listening. As I tell everybody, it opened up my senses. It put me on high alert. So, um, and of course, when I started doing the exploring, and actually looking for the evidence, things didn't appear right away, but eventually things started being noticed. I started finding things. Um, and then, I started doing a little research. I started doing a little digging. And
Oh,
Yeah, looks like we have a little live show connection problem, which does occur, Tex, as you well know.
yep. Uh-oh, we lost him.
Yeah, I'm sure. Maybe he's come back and reboot, which
There he
he's
is. He's coming
jumping
back.
right back. All right, you gave us the thumbs up there. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, you gave us a thumbs up, but yeah,
okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know what happened there. It dropped me off. That shouldn't have happened. So because I got
Gremlins.
strong. Yeah, I got strong Wi-Fi here, so that's weird. Uh, Let me see if I could adjust this here. I don't know. Like I said, that shouldn't have happened. I Okay. Could you guys hear me okay right now?
now you're
Yep.
perfect. I think it's. I got this funny feeling we're smooth sailing from here on out. So
Okay. All right. Good deal. So I'm not sure exactly at what part you lost me at, but I'll recap a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, after observing the Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin footage from 1967, it opened my eyes. It put a spark in me. Um, it had me basically, like I said, it had me on full alert. My senses heightened, and I was out there looking. I wanted to find the evidence for myself. I wanted to learn about Bigfoot. Um, and because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was convinced when I seen that footage. It convinced me. And then later on, when on documentaries, it also showed where science got involved, and they tried to debunk that footage. Until this day, the video has not been debunked. Everything points towards a real flesh and blood creature. Um, and then, like I said, over the years, when I started, venturing and looking for evidence, it didn't happen right away. But I started to find things. I started to notice things that were odd. Um, and I started looking. I was paying attention to the ground. I wanted to find tracks because I figured that would be the best evidence to me that would point towards, okay, there's got to be something large and bipedal out here. what other evidence would suggest that there's something out here like that. And of course, yes, the tracks were what what's the best way to put that? The tracks were what convinced me to know that they were inhabiting or passing through that area. Yeah, I have a collection of casts and tracks I found over the years. I do have a small collection of them. Of course, they all come from Virginia here,
Yep.
and but yeah, like I said, it's really heightened all my senses. I've learned to focus in nature in a relaxed manner. Um, basically, when I go out there not stomping and rushing through the woods. I enjoy being out there for one thing. Anyone that's involved with this or going to be involved, you got to love nature. You got to love wildlife. And for somebody like me that goes out there, it's peaceful. You know, if anything's going to be found, it's going to be found while you're relaxing and taking your time. And and here's another thing I tell people: you're looking for Bigfoot, but you're not looking for Bigfoot. Um, Basically, when I tell people to go out there, get Bigfoot off the brain. Now, because, excuse me, because when you got Bigfoot on the brain, of course, when you're walking through the woods, everything's going to be Bigfoot. I know I witness this. I see this on social media a lot. People post a lot of pictures. I do too. I do. But a lot of people are giving Bigfoot credit for what wildlife and other suspects out there are responsible for. There's a lot of suspects. I know it's funny that I call them suspects, but there is so much out there that people are giving Bigfoot credit for when they're really neglecting and ruling out all these other possibilities. Um, in my honest opinion, I believe that Bigfoot should be our last consideration on when we're observing what we might consider evidence. I could give an example here and there, but like sometimes a simple tree break, just to name something, for starters. There's a lot of things that break trees. Weather is a very big suspect on that because if the tree's rotted or have some kind of damage, your strong wind's going to blow over and snap a tree or uproot a tree. Bears are notorious for playing on trees. So there's all these other factors that we got to consider. Like, unless we observe Bigfoot playing on that tree or pushing and bending that tree, we can't say Bigfoot did it. That's the objective side of me. I'm very objective in the field.
And and really quickly, and you continue on. What I liked really most, what you just started the show with, was when talking about evidence or possible evidence. What I liked is when you went right into the casting of tracks. I was thinking, if I was in the woods, and I'm not talking about anybody's possibly seen a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, however you want to phrase it, but if you see a set of tracks that are 21, 22 inches long, 5.5 inches wide, you got a dermal ridge, you got toes distinctly. We know one thing for a fact, that it's either not an oversized human and it's not a wolf or a bear. It's something. What is it is up to us to try to determine.
Right. Well, you mentioned bears. We have here in Virginia and also along the East Coast, we have black bears here. And yeah, there's some big black bears here. Virginia's got over 700, 800-pound records. Pennsylvania's got over 800-pound records, even North Carolina. But now I have seen big bears. I've had my share of encounters, some close, some distance. Most of your average bears I do see about probably between 2 to 3, maybe up to 4. But I have seen them bigger. Now, there was an old trail I was walking on some years ago in my research area. And I stumbled across these tracks. And right away, they were very obvious bear tracks. But I'm going to tell you, these bear tracks were huge. They were probably around 15 inches. So that gives you an idea how big of a bear, what we have working that area. Some bear tracks are not going to be all, any track for that matter. It's not going to be that easily identified because of the foliage, not the foliage, but the leaf litter, all the, debris on the ground. I see a lot of impressions throughout the forest. However, I try to look for the most clear looking tracks are going to be in the bare dirt or along a creek bed. Creek beds, water sources, those are my main areas I love to search for tracks because you got to think about where you prey. If the prey is going to be there, the predators are going to be there. The predators follow the prey. Yeah. As far as bears are, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's some big bears here. So I was only pointing it out because some bears do have some big tracks. Um, of course, the other thing people got to be aware of, which I'm sure they've heard it mentioned, or is a double step bear track. Um, is it common? Yes and no. It depends. Because the bears, the way they walk, their pattern of stepping, sometimes their back foot will step in their front paw track, and therefore causing a one single looking humanoid track, which could be very deceiving. It's deceived me before. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not afraid to admit that I've been tricked a few times on my own. But yeah, like you mentioned about, you were using like up to a 21 inch track, for example. I know I had some tracks in my father's garage on a shelf that I've collected from out in the field. And there was an older gentleman that was over from the church. Dad was showing him the tracks because this guy lives, his property's connects or borders the national forest. And this guy is a total non-believer anyway. And the guy was like, well, my grandson's got a size 13 foot or 13 shoe. Of course, Dad said he came back and said, is he out running around barefoot in the national forest? So, but, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand. There's some people that do got big feet, but 13, 14, basketball players wear a 20, a 20, 23 size shoe.
They do.
Yeah, but you're not gonna. Yeah, what's the chances of them running up and through the woods, through rough terrain, and
Barefoot.
that's yeah. You might have somebody like the Legend of Mick Dodge running around, but I mean he was doing that in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if we got one around here, none that I know of. So, but yeah, tracks to me are considered evidence. I mean, I know for others do too. The tracks is a main source, evidence for a lot of us researchers. Scientifically speaking, science does not consider that evidence because yes, tracks can be hoaxed. I mean, back in the 50s, if you look into the history of Bigfoot, I mean, there was hoaxing back in the 50s with wooden tracks.
Yeah.
Well, what was it? William Wallace was the name. I think I could be wrong. I believe it was a Wallace was the name, but however, yeah, I mean, I think there's people today still hoaxing. I mean, people are hoaxing today on social media with these AI images, digitally created.
Yep.
It's gotten out of hand, and people are falling for it because some people are getting good at it. Yeah, they create these AI images, and they're even photoshopping them with real backgrounds, or real like the forest. There's some people you try to tell them, you try to explain to them what it is. Some of them don't want to hear it. They want to believe that it's the real thing. I mean, it's sad, but they're only deceiving themselves for believing such a thing when you're trying to help them out. I know there's been other podcasts with some friends of mine. I've done it briefly on mine as well when I do the open roundtable discussion. But you want to bring this awareness out to people because a lot of us care about the truth. We don't want this hoaxing going around. There's a lot of it that's going around, and I think it's just going to get worse. So all these AI images, the digital created artwork that's being used with the software, it's going to hurt us real researchers because I never captured no picture of Bigfoot or video, but if I ever do and I decide to present it, who's going to believe it? So
yeah, even prior to AI, right? Even people today that may or may not have an actual great image, those people are reluctant to put it out simply because of what you're saying, that it's not going to be believed and they're going to be ridiculed, judged. So a lot of these pictures, I'm sure there are some good captures out there, But now it just makes it so much worse with AI. Yeah, I mean, if you're skilled with that, you can really make some things look real. And
Right.
and you mentioned that is a shame because it throws off. Tex and I talk a lot about the data. Bigfoot crossing the road. Yeah, we've heard it 100 times, but it still has to be brought out because it's part of the data. But now, what are you trying to do? If all of a sudden we get a barrage of these clear images, I'm going to question whether it's real, even though it looks fantastic. But I'm just going back to the old adage that if you have a good picture, it's not believed because it's not supposed to be there.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's and we said this before. It's a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
You catch what everybody calls a blob squatch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's a crappy picture. Blah blah blah. It's just pareidolia. And you may have seen something with your naked eye when you were taking the picture.
Yep.
And
Right.
or heard something and then took the picture, and this was there. It's very well camouflaged. It's hard to make out, of course. But then, if you get a really good picture, the first thing people yell at you for is faking it.
Yep.
So why in the hell would somebody want to bring a picture forward?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can't blame them. I mean, I totally understand and get that, and that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, there's already a lot of people that have witnessed Bigfoot for one thing, and they don't want to come forward about it. I mean, a lot of people rely on the BIgfoot database, and the thing is, there's so many reports and so many eyewitnesses out there that are not accounted for on these databases. I mean, I know there's other ones that have been created since then, but for example, some of the eyewitnesses that I've got to meet up with and some of the stories I've gotten firsthand were from people that never shared their story with nobody, because they didn't know anybody. Me, for example, I'm not afraid to put myself out there publicly. I post stuff publicly in all these different, even outside of Facebook or out of Bigfoot forums and groups. I post in groups that you wouldn't believe. Like, I'm a member of these local hunting groups and whatnot, these outdoor field groups. I mean, yeah, I take a chance. I try not to overdo it in them because for what they're set in what their theme is. But every now and then I post something in there to where it catches some attention. Yeah, it catches some flack every now and then. Some little bit of laughing and mockery. But then I've gotten messages from people, and I've heard some pretty cool things. And this is all here in Virginia. I've heard a lot of interesting stuff that's come out of Virginia here. And I tell you, Virginia, and not just to speak about Virginia alone, but the East Coast. The East Coast is highly underestimated. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest is rated number one for Bigfoot sightings because, I guess people. Yeah, I mean, people, they come out of the woodwork. People share stories left and right. I mean, because, of course, that's where a lot of the big activities first happened many years ago. But, the people around here on the East Coast, you have a lot of mountain folk around here. You have a lot of people that still living in the past, that live in the mountains and like to remain to themselves, But these people have seen things, heard things, witnessed things. And if they get familiar with you, if they get comfortable is the key word right there. Eventually they'll start sharing, they'll open up to you. I mean, with what I do for work, some of the people I have to I'm a driver. I deliver the material that we sell at work. And some of the people I deliver to, I would never expected to hear stuff from certain individuals that are high rank management in these big contract companies. But when they came to my job, and I have a flyer I have posted up at our shop on the register for my annual event that I host every June. And I've had somebody start talking to me about something. Now, this was recent, this was just the other day, but it wasn't nothing they saw. It was what their grandfather saw. And And the thing is, where they told me this happened at, that ain't the first report from that area I've gotten either. So these are people that live in the mountains. These are mountain people. And, again, there's witnesses out there that they may never come forward, but some of them have, So Virginia is populated with Bigfoot. I can't say it's as populated as us humans, but it's populated. There's, they exist here. I promise you.
It's funny too because Tex kind of laughed about the Pacific Northwest, and I know where Tex is going. I got to tell you something. Just like when something is first introduced into the market, like McDonald's, whether McDonald's was introduced, the first fast food chain, right? You walk through, go through the drive-through, and get that Big Mac. And whether you think that's still the same today, whether in a fast food or not, it's still number one. They still are number one. And I can tell you there's 2 or 3 that are probably better. So you hear about the Pacific Northwest, the Patterson Gimlin film. That was the first thing really introduced. So that is always going to be like the number one to go to. But I'm with you, Daniel. They are all over the place. These reports that I read, some that I've taken are Michigan, Pennsylvania, Maine, Florida, Oklahoma. So I think pretty much wherever you live in the United States, and if you're into Bigfoot research or just want to go experience something, it doesn't matter where you are today.
Right. Absolutely. I just actually had, I can't remember right off there. I've talked to so many people, but I had an individual share a story in a report of an experience they had up in Michigan recently. And it's funny because right when they told me that, I had just got done watching, I know they're probably reruns, but Terror in the Woods. Every so often they come on the Travel Channel. And I'll set the DVR, I'll record a few of them and check them out. But yeah, two of the episodes both happened in Michigan. I was like, man, this is awesome, But yeah, I mean, I know you got the Upper Peninsula where there's a lot of wilderness up there. But I can't recall where these particular locations were. But again, they just come from out of Michigan.
Yep.
But there's a lot of wilderness up north. So
there is, I'm not going to get into my story. I don't know if I had a Bigfoot encounter in the state of Michigan, Cadillac, Michigan. And that's kind of how I got started with all this in 2018. So and then as I researched more of the area I tell you what, we've got them. And we also have Dogman here too, which is actually, I'm not going to claim this, but people had said that Michigan, Wexford, Michigan is the capital for Dogman in our state. So we have cryptids. Again, just back to my point, they are all over. They're all
right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, like you were saying, with Michigan and Dogman as Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
That's where, you had the whole B.I.G.F.O Road, and that's where it popped up, and that's where it started, and, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because Kentucky, I don't follow or get into the Dogman thing, but I hear a lot about reports and stuff about it. But Kentucky's another big hotspot there. So.
Oh yeah.
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 Well, it's like you said, the whole East Coast down through there.
Oh yeah.
And what I'm seeing is every coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, till you get down to like, the beaches and the desert and that type of thing. But the swampy areas and the forested areas and stuff, yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Like here in Virginia, you go to the Eastern Shore, in the southeast corner of Virginia, you have the Dismal Swamp, and that runs in from Virginia into North Carolina. And there's a lot. I have not explored there. I've heard from others that have, but there's a lot of woods in there, and there's people that live around there, of course, but there's a lot of woods around there. I can recall I was on Interstate 95, which is over 2 hours or so east of me, and I was headed down into North Carolina, but I was driving. I was still in Virginia, and I just came out past the city because Richmond, Virginia is, a fairly decent sized city. I was probably driving maybe about a 45 minutes south of the city where it's all woods. And I was driving along. Like I said, I was headed to North Carolina. And all of a sudden, we have these, they're not well, they are state trucks. They're these, they're called DBI. They're like road assistance trucks that usually pick up debris and do whatever on the highways. There was over a dozen of them, of them blocking the right lane where all the traffic had to get over to the second lane and pass through, but we had to go real slow. And I see all these trucks and flashing lights. So what the heck is going on here? So I'm driving slow enough where by the time I get up to it, there's an exit ramp, and there's a state trooper that's parked off the road talking to somebody in an SUV. It was like a woman. I think her kids were in there. But as I was passing by, right there in the middle, as you start to merge over to the exit ramp, I'm looking over. There's something in the road right there, and it was covered up in a blanket, a yellow blanket, if I remember correctly. And I don't know what the heck it was, but I can tell you it was not human, and it was some kind of animal or possibly something different entirely. Because what I was quickly able to observe that there was limbs, like legs and arms sticking out from the blanket, and they were like a reddish brown color, and they looked kind of shaggy looking. And I can tell you that with all the known species of wildlife that exist in Virginia, I could not think of not one animal that could have been. Now, on the opposite side of the highway, it was all woods and heavy pine. And I didn't realize this till a couple days later when I was driving back home, and I remembered the exit number, and I wanted to look as I was coming back up. But on the opposite side of the highway that I was driving on the way back, there was a swamp right there. And made me think. I said, maybe, because I shared that with a couple people. And actually, after I seen that going down there, I had gotten on Facebook Live and it was talking about what I saw, because to me it was very bizarre. It was, right. I said, this is very strange, because I mean, at this point I was probably about an hour away from the North Carolina line, but yeah, like I said, it was all woods through there. Because for the people that know this particular area, sometimes you think, oh, it's a lot of city. Like I said, I was well out of the city, and you have that swamp, you had all that woods, and I talked to other police officers, like some one in Virginia, a couple from Maryland. So yeah, when there's an animal that's been hit or whatever on the road, they don't cover it up. No. They were hiding something. So
the only thing they cover up are humans.
Right, and this was, like I said, from what I recall, it looked like it had long, skinny legs and arms. From what I glanced at or what I was able to see, and like I said, it was like brownish, reddish brown, shaggy looking hair. So I don't know what else it could have been. I don't know. I was not able to identify it because, like I said, they had it covered up with a yellow blanket. It was just very strange. So, yeah.
Well, they're gonna. I always say that I think, because my research area is right off Interstate 35, so, and with the casinos and everything, there's a lot of increased traffic, and people just flying down through their speed limits like 75 miles an hour, and these Sasquatch, they go back and forth across the Red River, which borders Texas and Oklahoma, which, thank you, Margie. And thanks, Margie. I'm just waiting for like a little one to get popped, and there'll be so many dead gun witnesses that they're not going to be able to cover it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot that, a lot of people, I've heard people ask, and I've actually had people say the government's hiding something. I've had people ask me. I said, I honestly believe they do know. I mean, But why are, the question is, well, if they do know, then why aren't they coming out public about it? I mean, I've been in this discussion numerous times. There's a couple key factors. For example, before I really get into that, the mountain lion. They deny that we have mountain lions here and up along the East Coast, and I've heard from other states. The only one that I think really witnesses or really claims it publicly is the Black Panther in Florida. Or if you go out northwest, you got mountain lions out there. But here on the East Coast, they want to deny it, even though I've seen one back in 2015, and there's been so many other eyewitnesses here in Virginia. I mean, I put a blog out. I've had people respond to my blog with their sightings. Now, there was already a public blog that I've came across when I was doing research on stuff. Yeah, the county I live in and the county next to us, um, those two counties were blown up with sightings of mountain lions. Um, so yeah, they're denied because when people report them, they're told that ain't what you saw. No, we don't have them here. Blah blah blah. I mean, yeah, they have no problem admitting that we have our bobcats. I mean, bobcats are seen here and there. I captured them on my cameras out in the woods. But besides seeing one in 2015, I have found their tracks. I've seen their tracks in the snow. Um, but again, that's another thing that's denied. So along with that, and let's say Bigfoot, why are they being denied and not told they're here? One, you got these national parks where a lot of people spend time in there. Money's being spent. You know, the key factor in this, I believe, is the economy. It would create an economic crisis, and then it would create fear and panic. You got all these people that go into the woods to enjoy their time out in nature and camp, and like I said, spend money to go out there and do these things. But they find out that there's something like a mountain lion out there, or if the government was to admit, yes, there is a large humanoid bipedal, hairy man, roaming these woods. Because there's people that count on the government. They believe everything the government tells them. So if the government says it doesn't exist, well, they believe that it doesn't exist. Same thing with the mountain lion, whatever. So, you know, and also it can cause, like I said, when I mentioned the economy, back when the spotted owl was discovered out in there in Washington State, that there put a hurting. It put a stop to the logging industry, which was a big part of the economy out there. And then put people out of work. And so you got to ask yourself, what happens if Bigfoot was to be publicly announced? There could be all kinds of legal issues. If they consider it a human, then there might be, all these different legal actions that's got to take place. Is it going to be put on the endangered species list? Which I don't see that it needs to. Bigfoot is thriving pretty well on his own. Although, we are taken away from his land by a lot of the logging, and the clearing that's going on. Not to mention all the other wildlife that's being pushed around, So, in my opinion, these are the things that would, be an issue, a lot of illegal issues, and then economic crisis that, if you combine the two. And then if you want to throw in the fear factor, but that's my 2 cents on that. But
that you're talking about the mountain lions and everything. It's funny to me because they'll say that these areas don't have mountain lions, but if they get a strange attack, it's the first thing they blame it on.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
And then they once again, then they look foolish.
Yeah.
Backtracking.
Yep. Or they'll say some wild dogs, So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that one a few times.
Another thing.
That's what we dealt with when I was growing up. It was either a big cat that because you'd hear of a foal getting tore up or a mare getting tore up when she's giving birth, or the same thing with cattle, other animals coming up missing, that type of thing. Every time they either blamed it on a big cat or a pack of wild dogs. And me and a
Hmm.
buddy of mine, Keith, were talking after because we grew up out there together, and we camped and hiked and hunted and trapped and fished all over that place. And I never once ran across, and we were saying we never once ran across this pack of wild dogs out there,
Right. Yeah. Like here in Virginia, the only wild dogs we have here are of course, coyotes, which they're very common everywhere. But I can tell you, some of the coyotes, I believe, have been interbreeding with probably other dogs or even wolves because
Oh, yeah.
I've witnessed. Well, for one thing, I'll tell you, but we do have wolves here in Virginia. I've seen that. But I witnessed a deer shooting across the road right outside of my camp, 8 o'clock in the morning, and this large canine following right behind it. Now that large canine, it had the colors of of a coyote, but it didn't look like your average size coyote. Coyotes, your average coyote is probably what 35, 40 pounds maybe. I mean, we're this here talking about 80 pounds roughly because I have pictures of a wolf that was given to my parents when they were at the hospital in the waiting room, and they got into talking to this one lady that lived over the mountain, and her husband's holding a red wolf, holding it up as high as his head, and it's touching the ground, and it weighed every bit of 82 pounds. He had to kill it. It was getting into his livestock. It wouldn't leave the livestock alone. He had to take it out. But yeah, it was clearly a red wolf, and I believe we do have them more out this way because, over a period of time when I did my research, a lot of them come from up north. They believe that there's a lot of migration and traveling over time there where they work from. You got Maine and Canada and so forth. But yeah, they're here. I mean, the coyotes. I got coyotes on my trail camera, and one's a small one, one's a large one, and I was like, that can't. There's no way that's a purebred coyote. So
Well, last time we were out, we found something was watching us right on the edge of camp, and we found um, paw prints that were almost 4 inches around, or
wow.
4 inches wide. That is a big coyote if it's a coyote. But they
Yeah.
introduced red wolves back into New Mexico just several years ago,
Right.
and they've made their way into Oklahoma. They had sightings and stuff. The same thing with the black bear. We've started seeing black bear in our research area. So we've got red wolves. We've got now the red wolves are rare, but they've even been seen in Texas. But it's they've got to admit that this stuff is there. One, for I think it's just a safety thing for people that
Mhm.
they've got to know. If these people are going out and camping in places that bears have not been for years,
Right.
and they've reintroduced them, and they're being seen, they need to tell people because there's precautions that you have to take in bear country that you don't have to take when you're not in bear country, be it a
Oh
black bear
yeah.
or a bear. You know,
Absolutely.
you don't want to
You
leave
know,
your
and
ham sandwich. You don't want to leave a ham sandwich sitting on top of your cooler when you fall asleep in your tent. I'm just saying.
right. Exactly. Yeah. The other thing is too. People don't realize wildlife don't have no. They don't have a boundary line. They don't know
Oh
boundaries like we do. You know.
no,
Because we have the black bear. Here up and down the East Coast, and sure they expand out. I'm sure they populated like I've had some people show me pictures of tracks. I said, dude, that's a bear track. Oh, we don't have bears here in this state. That's
yeah,
bullshit.
you
Then
do.
but I mean, think again. It's like bears. I've heard people say, "Oh, we don't have coyotes in this part of Kentucky." I said, don't tell me that. Come on. You know, I said, wildlife. You're insulting the wildlife. They don't have no boundary. They don't know boundaries. Yeah, we see a no trespassing sign or somebody else's property, we're not going to go there unless we're invited, but so yeah, I mean, they breed, they travel, they expand. bears cover a lot of ground. Deer cover a lot of ground, and it's the same belief with Bigfoot. I've been asked that too. Do Bigfoot migrate? I believe to a certain extent, yes, they do. I mean, if the prey is going to move and move out of the area, I mean, if they are feeding off the other animals, yeah, they got to go with the animal with their food sources. If there's a food source there, you could almost count that the predators are going to be there or work in that
Oh, yeah.
area. So
It's funny you guys are talking about like how they're saying you don't have cougars or mountain lions and such. I will say this: in the state of Michigan, there's always one or two Black Panther sightings. Someone always catches it on a trail cam or even with their phone. And the news always, it seems like every spring and summer, this gets reported on my local news. And yet the DNR, no, they don't exist here. There's no population here, just like there's not a wolf population in lower Michigan. Well, guess what? There is a wolf population in the UP, and talking about migration, certainly they're here. They're not as prevalent in the lower part of the state as they are in the upper part. But so all these things that we hear, again, we really have to take what these so-called agencies tell us with a grain of salt. Just like Daniel, I like to get your opinion on this. You talk about, you think the government suppresses things because of the economy. And what about these yahoos if they were making an announcement, and we're talking about safety? Let's say I'm taking my family out camping. A big announcement was made. Bigfoot exists. You don't even have to put a bounty on it, like I think they did in Oklahoma a couple of years back, or whatever state that was, Tex.
Yeah, that politician that did that.
Yeah, and then you got every yahoo with a rifle and a shotgun that's not even a hunter looking to catch a trophy Bigfoot. I think
exactly.
When we had COVID, right? People lost their minds and started buying toilet paper like madness and fighting in grocery store lines. Can you imagine if someone announced Bigfoot's in the Upper Peninsula? I think everybody would go looking for it, building traps, right? People falling, digging pits, holes, all people that are not professional at it. I just think it would be a frenzy for a while. I think it would subside. But again, the economy, safety, I think it would, I think it'd be different for a while. Then I think it would calm back down though.
Right. Well, I mean, that means it would be a danger zone for your average fan. Like you said, like if a family goes out there with the kids, they got to dodge bullets because there's you've got all these yahoos and crazies out there shooting at whatever moves, So
yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We're coming up on our 5-minute break. We kind of blew past it, but such a great conversation. Daniel, Benoit, E.C.B.R.O. with me and Tex. Thanks for everybody joining Beyond BMR tonight. We'll be back in 5 minutes. I got to pull a text here. I had it and I just lost it. Here we go.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. 3 minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond BMR. I am, of course, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. We have a great show. Daniel, Benoit, and of course, Tex. Before I get started, thank you to Margie O for that awesome super chat. I appreciate the support. We all appreciate the support here on our channels. Speaking of our channels, Mondays is Texas Front Porch. You can find that at 7:30 in the East. Now, the first Monday in May, Texas Front Porch will be at 9 in the East. So, quick note for you guys. Tuesdays is Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East. Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library at Untold Radio AM. You can find that at 10 o'clock in the East. Wednesdays, we're right back here with Jason McLean Questions Everything, 9 o'clock in the East. Thursday, brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. This Thursday, I've got Carter Bouchard on. It's going to be an awesome show. Thursdays, the Blondes, the Booze, and the Paranormal Podcast. Please subscribe to them on YouTube. They are on Thursday nights at 9 in the East. Fridays, you want a little woo mixed in with the Blondes and the Booze. You can find them Friday at 9 in the East. Tex, Danielle Diva. New show. They've dropped 3 or 4 already. It's fantastic for you true crime fans. Infamous Minds, 3 o'clock in the East. Check out Tex. Check out Danielle Diva Saturdays, 3 in the East. Highly recommended if you're into true crime and serial killers. An in-depth look. Saturdays, Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, 10 o'clock in the East, Saturday and Sunday. And also, Danielle Diva follows up after Jessica. She comes on at 11 in the East. Go check them out. Speaking of Spaced Out Radio, Dave Scott's second annual Spaced Out Radio fan party taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Golden Nugget. Go to spacedoutradio.com for details, or you can always find it on the Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob Facebook page. With that being said, I'm going to bring up Tex.
Yeah, and y'all don't
Danielle.
y'all don't forget real quick that the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, June 9th and 10th in Anniston, Alabama. Pretty much the whole crew is going to be there. So
yeah, going to be fantastic. I was there last year along with Tex, Jason, and Bob and Randy. Great time to be had. I had a great time, Tex. We know the story behind that one with my 20 hours to get home on a 3-hour plane flight. Again, check out our archives. That was a funny show we did. If you want to go see.
Yeah, they thought Rob was trying to sneak cocaine in because
Bigfoot
cast.
Tex bought me a Bigfoot cast, and so I put it. I layered it between my clothes and my carry-on at the airport. This is a long story. I must give you the details. So I'm standing in the in line for security. And so the bags are going left down the belt. Mine takes a right turn and goes the wrong way. And the guy in front of me says, "You're in trouble, sir." I'm like, "For what?" I'm thinking. And then, long story short, they pull my bag off. They unload my carry-on. They found the Bigfoot cast. I make the smart alecky comment, "There's no cocaine baked in that, sir. It's a Bigfoot cast." And then all of a sudden, 20 officers come around. Literally.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it wasn't quite 20. I'm elaborating, maybe 11, 5. There's a lot. And then I broke down, told them, what are you doing? I told them what I was doing. I was a speaker at a conference with my friend Tex and Jason, passed out business cards. You know me, I was trying to be, lighthearted about it. Then I started talking Bigfoot stories. Then I missed my plane because we were just conversating about Bigfoot.
No.
And then, but I had fun. I spent more money at the local 2 airport bars I was at than I did the entire conference. So I started telling everybody the story, and it was a great time. I turned a negative into a positive pretty quickly, and it's something I surely will not forget.
Wow. Yeah, I want to thank Lily Pond on the chat for posting my YouTube channel link on there. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Lily Pond is the best in the business. She's one of our fabulous moderators. Lily's all over the links. Thank you so much, Lily, for your dedication and work on our channels. We all love you here across the porch, folk. We do appreciate and love you, Lily. And before we get started, too, Danielle, you have the E.C.B.R.O.
Danielle.
Did I say Daniel? It's too many D's, too many Danielles, Daniellas, and Daniel.
It's totally fine. It's okay.
Maybe I should start thinking of you in terms of Daniel Boone. That way, and the Benoit. We got all this stuff going on. Anyways,
Mom's. Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, Mom said that when I was born, Dad wanted to name me Daniel Boone, but she said no, he'll get made fun of.
Daniel Boone Benoit. That's a nice combination.
I mean, I would have liked it. I mean, thinking about it now, I mean, as I'm grown up, I mean, yeah, why not? But I'm Daniel Joseph Benoit right now, so.
Hey, DJ, there you go. I'll call you DJ. Yeah. You've got in E.C.B.R.O. I know. Are you the founder of that? Why don't you walk us through that a little bit and promote a little bit of what you've got going on? Because I also know you put it on a Virginia conference, perhaps. I'm not sure, but why don't you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization. Well, like I said, when I first started and got involved with the whole Bigfoot thing, I was behind the scenes. I wasn't out in public about it. I was, a solo researcher. And of course, this is before I jumped on social media. And then, when I learned how many other people were involved with Bigfoot, when I started searching and getting to learn how to discover the forums and the groups, I was somebody that was like noticing all these different theories and what have you. And like I said, I was that newbie that was like so sparked and so fascinating into the subject, wanting to learn more. As far as the theories go, I wasn't jumping on board with any of them right away. I was just, you know, taking notes, doing my research. Um, so as I got more involved, I started meeting a couple people and ended up getting involved with a couple people I found that were local. Um, and then I got to the point where I was like, I want to form a team. I want to form a group. Um, I want to be able to establish something where we could all collaborate and share reports, share stories, and what have you. And so, even though I was based out of Virginia here, I mean, I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I basically grew up here in Virginia. Um, so yeah, I was 11 years old when I moved here and whatnot, and um, you know, so I like, I came up with the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization, and I started putting it out there. I started, it's been with me ever since I started. So, um, but over the years, I've gained members, I've gained supporters, and so many people that have been involved with what I do. I take people out. Actually, next month I got a group camp out, one of several that I host. I got a couple this year. However, I've been doing them over the years, and the groups have been growing. Although I try not to get too big of a groups when I do these. I don't want a whole big crowd. Um, Even though there's plenty of territory out there, it's just I have to be careful because a lot of these people don't know these woods like I do. I mean, um, so yeah, I mean the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization. We're not out there to prove Bigfoot exists. I mean, although we're out there to seek evidence, um, explore enough time in the field to where we may gain more experience with what's out there and give us more insight and hopefully build our knowledge on the subject. Um, so as far as any kind of public events like the one I host every June, before I started the conferences, I started hosting, doing these small little library lectures. Making, you know, I've been getting anywhere. They started off with maybe 10 to 15 people, and then they started growing. I mean, I've had other researchers come up from Kentucky. My good friend Michael Cook, and he's come and shared and done lectures with me, and then it got to the point where I was thinking about these. I was starting to see how these conferences were going in various locations, and I came up with the idea of like, let's have a Virginia Bigfoot conference. Now, I want to point some out real quick. There was a Virginia Bigfoot conference before I started it, but it only lasted 2 years, and then they stopped. So I'm in Virginia, and I want to host a Bigfoot conference. So, well, it's not just going to be the Virginia Bigfoot conference. It's the E.C.B.R.O. Virginia Bigfoot Conference. It's
Yep.
hosted by us, and we've been doing this for 5+ years now. Yeah, because it would have been 6 years, but the one year we had to postpone due to COVID and all that mess. And
Right.
so yeah, I mean it's been growing very well. Our annual Virginia Bigfoot Conference. It's been hosting every June so far. We plan to keep it in June. Um, our events, like I said, when we gather our speakers. Now, I know a lot of these Bigfoot conferences, they get these celebrities, and a lot of them like to bring them back every year. And then you got conferences in the same state. Well, hey, let's get those same guys over here, and I didn't want to do that. Well, for one thing, I can't afford them. you know, and the other thing is, I want people to meet people that actually spend time on their own exploring with boots on the ground research. I don't want people that, I mean, eventually I would love to get some of these celebrities, but not, over time, I want to work and build my way up to something because the way I look at it, a lot of these conferences are going to burn themselves out. They want to keep bringing the same people back. That's on them. But I'm not trying to put any of them down because they're very successful right now. They are very successful, and yeah, they get bigger numbers. But my first few conferences averaged between maybe 4 to 5, maybe 600 people. Our last June event last year, we've averaged probably somewhere between 5 to almost 900 people.
Awesome.
This year I think we're going to be a little bit bigger. We're going to be probably a lot more packed because one of my sponsors, which for the last couple of years I've been getting sponsors now, and one of my sponsors went all the way down to Kentucky. For those who know Turtle Man, Call the Wild Man from Animal Planet, Turtle Man is going to be at our event this year. So, so one of my sponsors booked him and got him set up, which I'm excited to have. I've actually met Turtle Man a couple times down in Tennessee, and he's a very outgoing fellow, and he's great with everybody. And I tell you, that man has a lot of patience to stand there with a crowd lining up just to meet him, and even with the young people, he's great with the young people. But yeah, as far as our event, we host it right here in Virginia. This year, our event is June 17th, and we have a nice venue set up. And we have probably approximately around, I think I want to say about 45, including the speakers, because the speakers get their own booths and set up. We have about 45 vendors total. That's the food trucks as well. So yeah, we're expecting a decent turnout. We're anticipating a decent turnout this year. So I encourage anybody that's interested to check it out. There's an event website. You can go to www.BIgfootcon.com. We do have a Facebook event page set up as well. There's a lot of information on there. It's the E.C.B.R.O. Annual Virginia Bigfoot Con on Facebook, and so, like I said, it's growing, and I've been very content with it. It's very stressful to put it together mentally. So, I've been hosting and organizing this solo since day one, but all that's going to be changing come next year because I now have a committee behind me. Some good friends of mine, they've been one of my sponsors every year. I invited them. I threw it out there to them as an invite to be a part of my team on the planning of all this and the organizing. And yeah, they jumped on it without hesitation, and they were more than glad to be a part of this because they know what I go through. They know all the setups and everything I have to go through, and it's just mentally mind-boggling. And just to think about doing it, it's mentally frustrating and exhausting. So
it is.
Yeah.
It is, and it just brings me up to a point. A good friend of ours, Anita, she put on the Alabama one, her first time doing it, and Texas speak on that a little bit. But I can tell you, I got there really early, and we all did. And she put a lot of work. She was a taxi driver. She arranged the hotels, put on the banquet. She did everything pretty much all by herself, and it was a fantastic showing. So I respect that woman. I respect anybody that puts these on, especially when you're doing it for the first time. Anita, if you're listening, thank you. And you say something pretty cool. Yeah, I respect. Like I met Cliff Barrickman and Ken Gerhardt in Alabama. And man, great. I love their presentations. But you know what I found the best is, like you said, there's a lot of people in these conferences that you might not have heard of. They could be Rob. They could be Tex, it could be Johnny or Sammy, and to hear what they've uncovered and what their experiences in the field have been, I gain the most from, because there's a lot of different things, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different speakers. If you got 20 speakers and it's a nice mixture of the celebrities and just the average Bigfoot researcher that no one knows about, I find those to be very rewarding and entertaining. And I've been to a couple now, and I tell you what, I really have a good time. A lot of great people. And I do recommend anybody, if there's one in your town, if you can't travel, to do it.
Right, absolutely. For example, one of my guys I got speaking this year, which I've actually got to listen to him down in North Carolina, and he's been a vendor at my event, but I finally got him as a speaker. For those who know Rick Rellis, he is a BIgfoot researcher, and I was actually very fascinated by what he presented in North Carolina at the Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival. Because because I was one of the speakers there last year as well. But just to listen to him and present his information, his experiences. I mean, he explains and gets down to the details of when they do their BFRO expeditions, what takes place, what happens. Because a lot of times you won't hear about BFRO expeditions on what happens sometimes. But yeah, he was getting pretty in depth on details and anything they did experience. Plus his experiences outside of the BFRO expeditions. So yeah, these people have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. I encourage anyone that to consider going to one of these conferences that have people that you don't know, because you will know by the time it's done with. If you take the time, sit and listen to these people. They have knowledge. They have information that you won't hear from a celebrity. I mean, I'm not saying these celebrity people don't know nothing, because these people have some years of experience in the field themselves. I mean, yes, Cliff Brackman, he's full of knowledge. I've met him back in Ohio in 2017. Jeff Meldrum, I've gotten to sit in on 2 of his presentations, and I love the way he presents and points things out. I haven't met any of the Expedition Bigfoot people. I've met Bobo, and then there's been other people I've met. I haven't met Ken Gerhard yet. I've been in communication with him. But Lyle Blackburn, I love his presentation. I got to speak at the same event with him here in Virginia, and another one that a friend of mine put on. And he's awesome. I've been to a couple events with him. So these people that you don't always see on TV, try them. Give them a chance, because these people have a lot of stuff that a lot of knowledge and information they want to share. So if you hear about one coming up that I'm speaking at, come check it out. I'll try not to bore you too much. So I got a couple I'm speaking at this year. I try not to overdo them, because they take a lot away from me in my personal life, but I do them because I want to spread awareness. I want to share what I know, and what I've experienced. So yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, because going to these events, you go with you're attending there with other like-minded people, and you get to learn things even from the people that attend there. You'll be surprised on the stories that you hear from them. Like when I go to South Carolina to the Bigfoot Festival there every year, it hasn't failed. Every year I go there, I learn something new. I hear about a couple local reports. It's awesome. You'll be surprised. People come out of the woodwork, because when they know you're a Bigfoot researcher, or learn that you're a Bigfoot researcher, they want to share their experience with you. So because this year we're hoping to get down there a couple days earlier to do a little bit of investigating down there. We did a little bit last year, but we're hoping to do a little bit more and have more time to do that apart from the festival. So, these events, they're a lot of fun. They're educational, and there's entertainment behind them. Like my event, we do have a little bit of live music that will be there from 12 to 3. And so apart from having Turtle Man there, we have all the vendors, we have the guest speakers, food trucks. It's a lot of people are getting excited for it. I'm excited and nervous at the same time. But so 2024, we got a couple things going on for next year. My event, plus we're actually going to be doing a second event. We've been doing a second event here in Virginia, but I'm not doing it this year. We're turning something completely different. It's going to be it's going to be paranormal, UFO, aliens, the realm of the unknown. It's going to be everything in between. So it's going to be, but where we plan on having that, I can't discuss that yet, because my committee team's working on covering all that right now. So, but we've already met together and talked about what we want to do with that. So we might have some ghost hunts, Bigfoot hunts. Awesome. We'll get into some of that later, but
I did want to ask, since you just started mentioning aliens, paranormal, I got to ask, I have an idea where you're going to answer on this. And I know you're a person that, from what I've watched you on a couple of shows, you really, until you've seen something or have had something happen to you, you give your theory or what you think.
Right.
when it comes to Bigfoot being flesh and blood and mixing in a little bit of the woo or the paranormal, as I'm sure you've heard, some people are for, some are against, and some believe both. Overall, with Daniel, what's your thoughts? Are you flesh and blood guy? Are you a combination, or you don't know yet?
And in my complete honesty, I stand on the flesh and blood side of things. Um, don't hate me for that. Well, I say that to the listeners because I know there's people out there that feel completely opposite on that. But so yeah, don't hate me for saying that because I feel like it's a political thing when we say that. It's like don't hate me for because I'm supporting this side. But
Well, I'll
but
tell you. I'll tell you one thing, Daniel. That's the great thing about our audience.
Yeah.
right,
We even, and I think that's what sets us apart from a lot of different groups out there. Is one, we don't have the same views on stuff
right,
as the host and stuff. So I mean, it allows us to have those conversations and not arguments.
right,
And we've managed to attract an audience that is the same way. They're very open minded, either in whatever camp they're in, they're willing to have a discussion, an intelligent, calm discussion, and not, and say, well, what, maybe, what if, because I'm not saying that these people aren't experiencing anything.
right,
All I can speak about is my experiences, and I've always said, and I've said it a million times, but I said it once. The first time Bigfoot talks to me, I'll be the first one over here waving my woo flag. Okay.
right.
But to my knowledge, he has not done that yet. Because one, I got to be damn sure that it's Bigfoot talking to me.
Right, right. Now, it's funny you say that because I'm the same. That's exactly how I am. I'm not afraid. I will not be afraid to admit
Uh-uh.
if something unexplainable occurs or
Right.
I witness something that's unexplainable because I'm not there with these people when they're sharing their claim
Right.
on seeing something bizarre, some lights floating through the woods, and then all of a sudden a Bigfoot appears or whatever, what have you. I'm not there to witness that or to experience that or share that with them. So, I mean, I can't say. I mean, it could be some type of science or something that it's not being explained. I just feel like there's almost a logical explanation behind a lot of things that people experience, but I got to keep in mind that just might not be the case. There's something else
Right.
happening. So, yeah, I do keep an open mind, and I'm not going to dismiss that. Um, there is a few factors that people have thrown out there. I was like, well, there is an illogical explanation between some of the things that they've thrown out there, but you know, um, I'll share one for example, cloaking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could tell you for a fact that with all the wildlife I've witnessed and seen over the years, like deer, for example, even bears. I've been in the woods, and I mean, I've had deer less than 30 feet from me, and until they move, I didn't see them because they were right
Right.
there, and they were blended in their own environment. Now, one of the things I like to look at Bigfoot as and compare them to is our known species of primates,
Mm-hmm.
chimpanzees, gorillas. Let's use gorillas; they're much larger than the chimpanzee. Jane Goodall, and for those who know Ian Redmond, I like to share him too because they both um, exercise the same practices out in the jungle and out in the field, observing these primates in their own environment. We're talking like almost physical contact or seeing them right there 10 feet in front of you. And all of a sudden, these primates walk behind the foliage that's right there. Even though they're still there, they're gone. They're like invisible because they're in their own environment. They're hiding. I mean, and people are experiencing that. So I believe it's the same concept. If we consider this with Bigfoot, I mean, I've already seen it and witnessed it with our known species of wildlife, deer and bear and what have you. So why can't a Bigfoot blend in with his own environment? He might look like a tree, He could be standing next to a tree, blending in with that tree, or he could be in the bushes, blending in with the bushes. Because I can tell you, in my area, the Bigfoots are either solid black, or from other witnesses I've talked to, they're like a dark brown. So
Yep.
they could easily blend in out there. You know, I've there's other stories of wildlife I could get into, but it's I don't want to drag it out. But so that's just my take on it. They could be blending in their own natural environment. You know, um, yeah, there's a lot of other things that people witness and occur. I'm not going to call them liars because I didn't see what they saw. If they really did see that,
Well,
so
let me
Yep.
ask you really
but
quickly. Let me ask you really quickly about the blending. And do you believe, like some people suggest, that Bigfoot hair is translucent?
I believe that's very possible. I can't say for a fact that it is, but I believe that's very possible. Because between lighting and the way that works, I believe that's highly possible. So, but
You know,
yeah, oh, go ahead.
there's just so much. The thing about it is, there's just so much that we don't know.
Right.
And Jason, one of our co-hosts, has a saying, and I absolutely love it. I wish I'd have come up with it. And I got to pay the damn guy $5 every time I use it. But it's we can't say what they are because we don't know what they aren't.
Right.
And that's a very true statement. And you talk about them blending in. I've seen them do it.
Mhm.
And people don't realize how easy it is just with a little bit of training or no training at all. That's why you hear so many people disappearing in the woods, and because you take 2 steps in thick woods, you're gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're wearing safety freaking orange. You can disappear if you really want to.
hmm
And it's very, very easy. And if you've got any training at all, it's simple. And I've always said, hell, back in my Army days, you give me a decent stand of trees, I can handle a 51-ton tank in him. So,
hmm
an 8-foot critter that will stand still for literally hours and not move is very hard to see.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're so adept. They're experts in their environment. They'll take a step in and just vanish. So
Right. I figured if we could stand out there and be still and quiet long enough for a deer to come through, come into our view for hunting. Why can't
right.
we pass through with a Bigfoot watching us the same way? So, but they have natural camouflage. We have to wear it, and put it on. So, uh, just something I
Yeah.
would ask people to consider and think about those simple little things. But
I mean, my neighbor had his grass had gotten a little tall because we had a bunch of rain and stuff. And it was only about that tall. It wasn't totally out of you know craziness, but um, there was a black cat sitting in this grass, and I took a picture of it. You can't hardly see it, and that's in a yard.
oh yeah.
Black cat on green grass. You can't once it put its head down. I didn't know it was there till it stuck its head up when I drove up. You
Right.
know, I did an experiment with um, squatching strategies, and me and him were out, and I turned my back and I said, okay, and there was just love grass behind us. That's all it was, and it's about 3.5, 4 feet tall sometimes. I said, okay, and he's wearing bright colored clothes. I said, pick a spot and just crouch down. Just crouch down. That's all I want you to do. Don't do nothing special. And I'm going to turn around and try to find you. And I panned the camera around and I panned it back and forth real slow so everybody could try to find him. Find him. And
hmm
after a few minutes, I said, all right, stand up. He was right in front of us. That's how
Wow.
and I was trying to make a point. That's how easy it is to disappear.
Yeah.
It's like you were
That.
saying. To your point, it's if you're still and quiet, that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
You break up your shadow a little bit, or you break up your silhouette a little bit. You're shut your mouth and open your ears and be still. People walk right by you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of people think, oh, if you're in the woods, you'll smell a Bigfoot. That's not always the case.
I think that is.
That depends on on a few factors, I believe. Because I've got a couple different experiences, and I can tell you there was no smell involved whatsoever. None. So, but
I don't think. I think it's one of two things. It's either involuntary or it's voluntary. I'm leaning towards voluntary. But if it's involuntary, I think it's when they get excited or upset. It's a
right,
glandular thing, much like a deer when they go into rut. It's one of the things you do when you kill a buck. You cut the glands out. You use that. You
right,
put it in another territory. Another buck smells that scent. He's not supposed to be here, and he comes to check it out. I think they may have something along the same lines. We've got scent, glands that stink,
right.
and so if they are able to control these things and do it when they want to, or if it's involuntary, or maybe it's a mix of both. But I think that's what that smell is, because the smell is so pungent and it's like a one of a kind smell.
Right.
Nobody can really put their finger on what it smells like because it's different. It smells
Oh,
like
yeah.
a mix of things.
Right. I've heard it described in different ways. Yeah.
And it could very well be that. Well, and I think the pheromones. I think probably every Bigfoot has their own smell. So, and females may smell different than males. They may not smell until they get old, past puberty. There's a bunch of
Right.
things like you said that could be. There's so many variables.
Oh yeah, there are.
It's a natural ability.
You take these reports. You can read through reports where there's not a smell, there is a smell, and I often wondered if maybe, if you think about the smell, let's say that there's a Bigfoot in your camp and they really want to be by themselves, if they have an ability just to give off a scent to maybe distract and have campers even leave, kind of like a self-defense mechanism. I've heard stories about that as well.
Right. Oh yeah.
Again, I don't know.
I've heard that too. Yeah. Now here, the other thing is too. We get to bathe, we get to wash up, or we get to wear deodorant. So think about the things where if they're urinating and they're and they do the number 2, I don't think they have a roll of Sherman toilet paper to wipe themselves out there with. So so all these a combination with body odors too. I would consider that it would have to put out a god awful stench. So I don't know. If they aspire like we do, like our body odor could be pretty foul sometimes. I know this sounds gross, but if I let myself go or anybody, I smell body odor. It can smell anything like a skunk to whatever.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, I call it getting a little woodsy.
Yeah.
A little ripe.
Of course, we got a casino right up the road from where we research, and we'll be out. We may be out in the brush because we tend to go out for 3, 4, 5 days, and we stay out. We camp, and every once in a while we'll go up, and a few of us will hit the casino, and I know damn good and well they probably smell us as soon as the doors open.
Well, at least the slots that you want to play get cleared real quick.
Yeah, ain't no doubt. Ain't no doubt.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, with your research out in the field, I'm not going to even get into pictures because that can go one way or another. I don't even like asking people nowadays. However, me and Tex really I think Tex is with me on this one. We love vocalizations and just the sounds of nature, whether it's Bigfoot or wildlife. Have you come
Mm.
across any vocalizations during your exploration or your research where it sounded like perhaps it could be a Bigfoot or something else?
Well, let's put it this way. Yes, I've had my share of vocalizations, and I can tell you, I have to. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I have to point out, as far as all the known species of wildlife, I'm very well acquainted, and I know my wildlife very well. Um,
But I
Now, and I
guarantee
know
you
I,
don't know every sound they make.
well, yeah, like owls. I'm going to tell you, owls. I've had people out there. Barred owls. They're very common here in
Oh
Virginia.
yeah.
A lot of people hear them. They make their basic vocals, but I've had them make god awful screams and like things you would never imagine coming out of an owl. And I've had people with me at camp like get excited like when they hear that, and
Yeah.
it's like they never experienced it. So it's like you gotta like you don't want to insult them when they're thinking it's a Bigfoot. I say, no, dude, it's just an owl. Trust me. I said they don't do that often, but I hear it enough to know what it's coming from. Just like coyotes. Coyotes have several different vocals and tones. Um,
Fox
you
and
know, even
bobcat.
yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah. I've heard bobcat before. It's been a while, but I hear foxes a lot. Sometimes the foxes will bark at you right there at camp at night. you know. Um, but yeah, there's been a few times I've heard things that I couldn't explain.
Right.
Different howls and tones, long extended howls. Um, there's been a couple screams. I've had my share of hearing whoops right there at camp
Hmm.
at night, like whoop whoop whoop, like just like that, like 4 or 5 times. You know, so yeah, I mean, again, I've had my share of hearing the various vocals. Some were in question, like, okay, could that have been a coyote? You know, I mean, um, I've heard coyotes go solo, and I've heard coyotes sound off in their packs. But you know, um, yeah, like I said, there's been a few things that have been questionable, but some of them I like to say that's got to be a Bigfoot. You know what I mean? So, but
Yeah, I got. Let me see real quick. I may have a howl you can listen to real quick. See if I've got this on here. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Y'all keep talking. I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm just typing something really quick. So, actually, while Tex is looking, I did want to ask you. I kind of know the answer because I kind of looked you up a little bit. Um, what's the closest thing that you think that you might have seen a Bigfoot? Could be shadow. It could be a tree. Turning into something or anything.
mm, as far as like something during the daytime, well, I mean,
I know it's kind of a tough question if you haven't had a physical
yeah.
encounter, but were you ever out in the woods where you thought to yourself, man, I think this might be, Sasquatch, but you don't know for sure. Anything like that?
Well, there's been a few moments where there's certain areas I would go into on occasions and not feel anything. But then again, there's certain times where I've been in there where that fear, that
Yeah.
sense of something's there, you would start feeling fear and then like an anxiety or like something's around. Now, I mean, I've seen things during the daytime from a distance that I didn't know what it could have been. For example, several years ago, I was going up this one trail, and the further you go back on this trail, it gets thicker and thicker because the mountain laurel kind of hovers over and takes over that trail. And but there's one spot when you get so far up there, this is a small clearing with a little bit of sand on the ground off the side of the trail. but you're surrounded by mountain laurel and thick brush, and then through one side it goes up to a ridge. And so I'm looking over there, and something catches my attention. Now, I'm not sure what the heck it was, but so at the time I had a camera phone. It was a cheap, low quality camera phone, but hey, it did what it did. I mean, I started recording and I started zooming up a little bit. On a phone, when you're using a phone, you know how you got to pinch it out, the zoom in. Well, I got so far in the best I could, without it distorting too much. And me and this girl, we're watching through my phone as I'm holding it up over the mountain laurel, and we're seeing something. It's dark. It's actually moving around, but we can't make out exactly what the heck it is. But it's something behind the bush. You can see it go up and down, side to side, kind of thing. And after a couple of minutes of observing this, I was like, "Oh, it's probably just a bear." Can't make out no details. But so we left that alone, and we continued up the trail. And there's a creek up ahead, and you have to cross that creek to continue on where the trail goes. So we crossed the creek. The water was low enough at the time anyway, so it was easy to step on the stones. But we had just got to the other side, and we just started walking. And next, this big football-sized stone lands next to us. And we're looking at each other, and we're looking back where we just came from. Didn't see nothing. But after having that happen, I got to thinking, I was like, maybe that wasn't a bear. Because we're standing there for, almost a little over a minute, and somewhere in the background you hear, "Woo!" What the heck? Maybe was it an owl? But then, as far as seeing what we saw through the phone up on that hillside there, I got to thinking. I said, well, maybe there was other Bigfoots in there. This is things I've gotten to think about later on. And apparently we must have got too close to something, and they were warning us to, hey, right, get out of there. So it's the only thing I could think of. But like I said, it was basically a black blob, but it was moving. It wasn't just a still image. It was actually moving. It's on my YouTube channel. It's an old one, but NVTV actually, they like to go and use other people's video footages and they actually featured that on their channel. And I don't know. I heard that there was another video of mine they used. Somebody told me. I didn't know, but it's whatever. But that particular one there, yeah, like I said, yeah, that's something I experienced, whatever. But I like to believe maybe that was possibly a juvenile, and the adults were warning us to get out of there. So yeah.
Well, this howl came off of Gary Spike Sr., which is in the chat. He's one of our trackers.
Oh, yeah. I know Gary. Yeah. He's had me on his podcast. Yeah.
This is Gary Sr. Okay. So, but this is the howl that came off of his property. And I used it in one of our intros. So,
wow, that's pretty intense right there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And me and Pop, I call him Pops. But me and Pops disagree on what it may be. He's convinced it's a Bigfoot. Me, not so much. I think it may be I think there may be a dog man roaming around in there somewhere.
Well, either way, I mean, I can't say either way, but I feel like it's definitely something unknown. Wow.
Yeah.
Jokingly, I would say it's a Bigfoot using a pine cone to wipe himself, but
ow. It sounds like he's going, ow. Ow. Dex, is that the one that sounds similar to the one I experienced? Is that the same audio? That's a different one, isn't it? But that's the same, because I figured. Yeah.
But now that was awesome though. It really is. I don't think I've heard that one before. So
And,
That's
and I've
pretty.
got
Yeah.
that. Of course, I've got the just the howl itself, but I can't find it. I didn't want to waste a lot of time
Yeah,
looking for it.
I hear you.
Hmm.
I was wondering. I
Very
knew when he
cool.
pulled up the text thing, that's always got the
It,
old intro coming on.
it was funny because I was up late one night and I'm watching a Bigfoot movie and I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't a bad one, but it's relatively new. It was like 2022, I think it was. May have been 21, but anyway, I don't know. But at the last of the movie, all these supposed Bigfoot howls cook off, right? And I heard this and I'm like, wait a minute. And I rewound it and I listened and I rewound it and I listened. And I got my phone out and I got the howl out and I'm listening and I played them it was the same one. And I'm like, no freaking way. So I texted Junior. I said, hey, I said, watch this movie, this timestamp, and tell me what you think. The
Wow.
producers had pulled it off of YouTube, off of his channel, my channel, something, and used it in their movie. He actually contacted the producers and says, hey, that's I'm the one, we're the ones that caught that and blah, blah, blah.
Wow. Well, have you ever seen the movie Exist?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah. Now that the vocals that you hear on that were put into that, but those were alleged captured vocals from a either a fellow researcher or some, I forget who they belong to, but they used real recordings for that movie. I learned that later after watching it. I thought that was very cool because it was like,
Yeah.
it just thinking back of watching that movie because the first time I watched that was at my buddy Tracy's house. Of course, we're sitting there. He lives out in the mountains, out in a trailer, and we're sitting there. I'm over there with him and his wife and kids, and I'm sitting there watching it, and like I'm like really feeling the movie because it's like dark out and we're out in the woods. So I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, I haven't felt like that thriller, that intense feeling while watching a movie in forever, but Exist made me feel that way though. But that's how good of a movie it was. If you could feel
Yeah.
that, that's how realistic it was. So
I loved it that it took place in the big thicket
mm,
down here in Texas is where
yeah,
it took place.
Yeah, another place I got to go. The big thicket, and of course, Texas stomping grounds over there in Brown Springs. But I really want to go to Texas.
eventually
Uh,
I'm going to get down there too. There's several states I have yet to visit.
oh,
I mean,
I've been.
but I
Go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say I finally got to the West Coast just a few months ago, which was like I've always wondered, am I ever gonna get to the West Coast? But yeah, I got to go out to Washington State. For those who know Stephen Major, he's a founder of the Northwest Expeditions LLC. He actually flew me out, and that's another thing, first time flying ever, which was an awesome experience. I really enjoyed that. But so yeah, I got to go out to Washington State because he did a recording with me for his. There's a TV show out there. It's called Bigfoot Today. So which you could find that on YouTube as well. But yeah, Washington State, first time ever being out from from the East Coast going to the West Coast. So, and I was gonna bring that up earlier when you mentioned about going to a casino because after the show he took me out to a casino. So, so that
Oh
was pretty
yeah.
cool. So yeah, but yeah,
I
that was out
think
in Spokane, Washington. Yeah.
I think I've been to like 30 states in my lifetime, and I've been to Texas twice. But the real reason I want to go to Texas because I need Tex to take me down. I need to get me a steer. We got to barbecue us up a steer, Tex. You know that.
Mm.
I gotta go to one of those all night steer roasts. They have pig roasts. We want to find a steer roast, man.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I can see us
But
Yeah,
with a side of
yeah.
beef on a spit.
I can see that. Tex took me to a good Mexican place last time I was there. Those are both. I
yeah,
need another one too. They got. I tell you what, Tex knows the hot spots. And I don't even want to go for no conference. I was going to go hang out for the weekend and eat.
Yeah, I tell you, if you want some good barbecue sauce, from made right out of Kentucky, it's based out. It's got the recipe's based without a Kentucky bourbon, but it's called Sasquatch. SOSS Squatch, all one word. Yeah, Michael Cook is the creator of that sauce. He's got several flavors. He's got a hot sauce. But yeah, you could go to saucesquatch.com, SOSS
I'll have to
So,
check that out.
yeah.
Lyle Blackbird has one too. The Texan I had a sample of. I think it was last time we were in Texas. There's so
monster
many out
sauce.
there. Monster sauce, yeah.
Yeah, I have yet to try that too because I own a bottle of it, but I only bought it as there's a couple different hot sauces I have. I bought them as a collection because they got a Bigfoot on them,
Oh yeah.
So
For sure.
but
Well,
yeah,
this about comes to the end. I mean, we went over as I thought we would. I know Tex's beautiful wife wore him out for her birthday for the last several days. So I know he wants to take a nap. Daniel Benoit, where can we find you? Where can people look you up at?
yeah. If you want to find me on Facebook, I mean it's under Daniel Benoit. There's multiple Daniel Benoits, but I'm the only one with a blue check mark next to my name, so I'm not that hard to find. I have the main E.C.B.R.O. Virginia Bigfoot Con Facebook page. That's the Facebook event page. Excuse me. We do have the E.C.B.R.O. East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization Facebook group. YouTube Bigfoot Zone E.C.B.R.O. Feel free to check that out and subscribe. I do go live every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to check out my personal blog website, it's www.ecbrofounder.com.
Awesome.
So,
and
yeah.
Lily did a great job. The links are in the chat for those that watch this later. Just go look those up, and I'll have them in my description page. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It was a pleasure. It was a treat. And, talking about all this barbecue and all this barbecue sauce. When we sign out, I got to go rummage up some food, I think. Get me some grub. Hustle me up some vittles, as Tex would say.
There you go.
Daniel, don't run off when we sign off.
Don't.
Oh,
Just hang out for a second. Text for Daniel. Everybody, thank you once again to the lovely Anella and Margie O for your awesome super chats. We do appreciate that. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody listening later, listening in the archives. We have tons of great shows. Go flip one on and check them out. Turn on the alert bell, and until next time. Yeah, Daniel.
Can I throw? There's one more thing I want to throw out there real quick.
Yeah.
If for those who watch Netflix, there is another paranormal streaming network out there. For those who may not know, it's called Paraflix. PARAFLIXX. It's a paranormal streaming network, but there is a new TV series on there that you guys may find fascinating. Over time, I believe it's going to be bigger and better than what Terror in the Woods might be. But this one here consists of both Bigfoot and cryptids, as well as the paranormal and other hauntings. So far, there's 2 episodes on there, and check it out. The subscription is cheaper than Netflix, and the first episode is called "The Beast of Elkhorn Lake." It was based off of my encounter, and there's some investigations that took place during that filming. So I just want to throw out there, check it out, and get your subscription to Paraflix, and check out Hometown Haunts. So there you go. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for that. After ruining my awesome exits.
I'm sorry.
Hey, buddy, I'm kidding. I am kidding. I'm glad you got all that in there. I'm not redoing the exit. See me and Krista Thursday at 1 in the East. Carter Bouchard's on brunch. For Tex, for Daniel. Love you all. Until next time.